We live?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to Outhouse Saloon. I'm Joey, and this is my co-host Andrew. Tonight, we're going to be doing something a little bit different than we've done in the past. I believe I speak for Andrew when I say that our goal in creating this channel was to give an outlet for ourselves and anyone else to have a place together and talk about just whatever the heck we want without feeling disrespected or looked down upon or anything like that. Um, just like a normal sports bar, you'll not only hear sports being discussed, but just a whole bunch of different topics. And that's what we really hope to achieve here. Um, I know myself and everyone else, we all have different interests. I personally love sports, gaming, politics, economics, and music. And, while most of the time my wife ends up being my sole outlet for my, random rants, opinions, and nerdy tendencies. But I believe that she'll be happy to enjoy a bit of a break of that. Anyway, Andrew, my co-host, how you doing? How was your week?
Oh, it was good. I'm glad it's Friday. That's for sure.
Yep.
You got a drink on you, Joey?
I do actually. It's an IPA. Let's see here.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yep, it's called Starship IPA by Voodoo Ranger. Go ahead and open it up now. Yeah.
And for us that can't drink, I have water. So.
Yeah, well, I have my water here too, so yeah.
So, what's on your mind? I'll let you get started.
Uh, whatever the heck we want to do. Is there anything that you were really wanting to talk about tonight or anything?
No, I just got funny and hilarious stories, and depending on if who joins, what happens, we could talk about weird supernatural stuff. Um, and anyone is welcome to join. There's a link, StreamYard link at the top of the comments. Just click the link. You're welcome to come on. You don't have to have a camera, so you don't feel like you have to show your face. That's cool. Or you could just listen to Joey or I rant and rave, and add comments, and we'll respond to your comments as we go along.
Yep, definitely get involved if you can. All right, so I did find this one story earlier. Let me pull it up here. It's pretty interesting. A grenade found on a conveyor belt with potatoes that were meant to be chips. I don't know how in the world this could have happened, but that's that's something else right there. I mean, I guess it kind of does look like a potato.
What factory was this? Is this Lay's?
I don't think so, Mr. Chips.
Okay, so it's not in the United States, so I don't have to worry about it.
Right? Yeah.
Sounds like a Malaysian type factory, Southeast Asian.
Well, it said Auckland, so what's that?
That... New Zealand.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, how about that? Anything cool and interesting that you found today?
I have a lot of interesting, not necessarily cool. Hi, Jason. Thank you for joining.
That's my mate, Jason. He's known him since middle school. I don't know what the little yeah.
I think it's an emoji, but it didn't work. But so I have an interesting. I got a funny story to start off with. A Southwest passenger was arrested for masturbating 4 times during the flight. So, few things is I don't fly Southwestern for one, this kind of reason. 2, the flight was from Seattle to Phoenix. That's not a very long flight. In my experience, it's probably like an hour and a half. So 4 times in an hour and a half, and he had time to sleep. I don't know. It just seems so weird to me. So he's like, oh well, she didn't say anything, so she wasn't uncomfortable. So, and he thought it was kind of kinky. So I thought that was kind of. I just was like, okay, that's interesting. One, you were able to do that 4 times, so I'm going to assume it's a younger gentleman. And 2, you fell asleep after it. So I thought that story had everything that I look for in a story. Sexual reference, questions that are unanswered, and yeah.
That's I I don't even know how to
To follow that one.
that. Yeah. Like what the heck? Let's see.
Oh, we have Jason backstage.
Yeah.
You want to bring him on?
Yeah. Hey, what's up?
Cheers.
Nice. Yeah.
Hey,
Cheers.
What's up, guys?
how you
How's it
doing?
going?
That last story really hit home for me.
Shut
Oh, I bet it did. You and back on the band bus,
Oh my god.
Yeah, I agree with Andrew though. 4 times, like, oh geez.
Yeah. I was
I mean-
also in marching band, so I completely understand what happens on the back of the bus. So
Jason gets slapped by his wife a lot. That's what happened.
I'm not involved in this conversation.
Yep. Interesting about them is that it was really funny because you'd always know when Jason did something wrong because you'd hear Jason slap.
Yeah, I get that all day, every day.
But from your kids now, though, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Nice. All right. So what else we got here? Oh, this is one thing I can't remember if I've mentioned it to you guys both, but I've definitely thought about it a lot. For music, I've always loved music. How do you find new stuff now?
I'll let Jason go first.
Yeah. Well, I like to keep up with the young kids, so I go through the YouTube like new music video releases. That's how I get my mainstream stuff, because if there's a video, then it's mainstream, I guess.
Yeah.
Other than that, Spotify, the release radar, and the recommended, like, just associated with the bands that I've liked in the past.
Okay.
I don't really do a great job about it anymore. I used to dig into the new releases and stuff, but mostly it's just been kids music on repeat for the past like 5 or 6 years. So
yeah. Andrew, for a little context, Jason was in a ska band, and they actually got to tour around a little bit, and I acted as their groupie pretty much for a little while, and
male groupie. Nice.
Yeah, it was fun.
Pleasure for all.
Yeah.
Probably another word for that, Joey.
Yeah.
No, that's the right word. No, it's good.
No, they actually played at the Warp Tour up in Charlotte. That was really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We weaseled our way on stage. Yeah.
Interesting note about that is John and I were in the van. Was it your van that we drove up in?
Yeah.
Okay, so we were in the van like eating a sandwich or something, and the band that was parked beside us, they like knocked on the window and was like, "Hey, you guys got some weed?" And like John is in his Dare shirt, right? And we're like, "No."
but now you wear Daras. Nowadays you wear Daras.
Ironically,
yeah. Well, it's pretty good likelihood that one of the cars parked there had some. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So it wasn't a famous musician that was asking for it.
I mean, they were pretty well known in the scene. It was A Thorn for Every Heart.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember them, Jason, but I like them.
Yeah.
But yeah, for new music, for me, I do it. Jason does. I just go through like, I feel like I'm going through more of a goth indie phase now as I get older, because like all the stuff I like on YouTube, it keeps recommending like emo and stuff. So it's so weird, like because you just hit the like button and it will just find you stuff. So I just let YouTube do all the work. It brings me stuff, known and unknown. I used to do it on Spotify, but I moved everything over to YouTube Music because I get it for free now with my Pixel. So, but yeah, Joey, either of those services, just start hitting the up button. They'll send you music, and if you don't like it, down it, up it, and you'll eventually filter to new stuff.
Yeah. So I like, I used to use Pandora, I guess, when that was really big. And I tried to use it again to hopefully that it would recommend some new stuff, but it just like kept doing the same stuff over and over again. And then Amazon, they basically have like a similar thing to what Pandora offers. And I wasn't getting any new stuff from them either. So it's like, what in the world? Like, what the heck? Am I just like a pariah in music? And there's just
Well,
nothing
yeah,
for
because
it
you guys
anymore?
like ska, so I would say yes, but that's just my personal preference and music taste. Although I did send you the Interrupters, so
Yeah,
they're kind of
love it.
punk ska-ish, so they're pretty good. So yeah, um, so I do have another unique story, Joey. If you want to see
Yeah.
this,
Bring it on.
okay. This one's out of South Carolina, so you'll appreciate this very much. So let me make sure. Let me share this real quick. So we've got a the funeral home. So this kind of hits home to me because I don't want to be cremated, but because I want to come back as a zombie or something. But the South Carolina man. So what happened was he got sent to Arkansas, and he specifically said, in his will, he doesn't want to be cremated because he wants to be raptured again. And what does the funeral home do? They cremate him. So now there's a lawsuit going on against the funeral home. They've given back the $5,000. So, but that one's gonna be interesting because, like, what? I mean, the damage is already done, man. What are you gonna do? Like, I mean, the dude's never gonna get raptured. He's destined to like be in purgatory or wherever, whatever happens to people that don't get a chance to become a zombie. I don't know. So, I mean, 5,000 doesn't seem like enough.
Was it 2012 that it was supposed to be like the big rapture end of the world type thing?
Oh, that's every few years. But yeah, the Mayan stuff, yeah, calendar lines up and yeah.
There was I think it was around that time there was one like really big popular dude who was like going on and on about it. And one of the funniest things that I saw after all that, Passover and stuff was someone was just telling the story about it. And then the guy telling the story was like, "Oh man, come on. It's okay. It's not like it's the end of the world or anything." And it's funny cuz the world didn't end.
Did you guys see SNL? They had a skit kind of similar to the the cremation story where they were like these guys would show up and they would just like throw the guy off the cliff and like, isn't that what you want me to do? They would like the same thing happened. They're like, give us a refund. It was like last week or the week before.
It's like that dude out in man, I think it's Arkansas again. Maybe it's Alabama. The guy, it was like maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. This funeral home guy, he got too much work and he just started shoving bodies in the back. I wouldn't bury them, so they just like kept piling up. So all these poor people, just like bodies in his backyard. So eventually they go in and they find, I think like 75. It's Georgia. I'm almost positive now. like 75 bodies, like just is like a toxic waste site because he didn't embalm. Anyway, he started to embalm them and stopped. It was just like it was a complete mess.
It sounds like a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I mean, he got like so many charges of desecration of a body and stuff. Although I don't, there's a good channel on YouTube. Like I think it's Ask a Mortician with that woman. Can't remember her name right now, but it's it's good. And it's also good if you're into that like kind of stuff. There's a good book by Mary Roach. It's called Stiff. It talks about like what happens when you die. Goes into how they weighed the soul so they know how much a soul weighs. It was kind of interesting experiment. I think in the 1800s, some guy was, nearing death. They hooked him up very carefully to like this thing. At the time of death, they recorded the weight, the drop in weight. And I want to say it's 21 grams. Or something. I have to read the book again. Oh, there's a famous cat. So I think there's been a movie out like that might have been called 21 grams, like a horror movie. So that might be like why, because like the soul has like a certain weight. So, but Joey, I'll get off that topic. I'm going into the supernatural.
Well,
like, weird area.
So back when I worked for the prison, on the night shift, one of my coworkers used to listen to the Coast to Coast show in overnight.
Oh, best show ever.
Have you ever heard of that, Jason?
No, I haven't seen it.
It's basically like nothing but like alien and supernatural type stuff.
Conspiracy theories. Yeah, it was run by originally it was done by Art Bell, I think. Or maybe George Norrie. I can't remember who was the original. I think Art Bell was first, and then it went to George Norrie. So originally he ran it out of Nevada, and basically it ran from like 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. Really, like, I mean, crazy stuff. When I was in college, I had nothing better to do. I was up listening to that stuff, and like Joey says, they talk about all these just weird stuff. Like you never know what you're getting from night to night, and some of the callers that would call in are like. You could YouTube them. They're pretty famous because they're like out there. So what happened though was he moved to like the Philippines and married like a Filipino woman. I don't know. He ran into some problems, but I think unfortunately he passed away. So I don't even know if it's going on anymore. But if it is, it's definitely worth a listen. Even the old ones, just because. I mean, if you ever can't go to sleep or you need something to do while you're driving, I'm sure there's podcasts of those old episodes. You'll be listening to this. You'll be like, oh, yeah, that's what those crystal people are talking about. Yeah.
It was interesting. And the dude was like really into that stuff. And I don't know, some of it was kind of cool because like there was some science behind like some of the stuff when people would call in. But then you get the nut jobs like, lizard people and all that kind of stuff.
Hey now, Joe, you said this is a safe spot. You can't call people nut jobs. Yeah. There was a caller that talked about lizard people a lot. I think that's one of like the famous ones you can YouTube.
Let's see, what else do we have here? All right, I haven't looked at this yet, but I am interested to see.
That's always a good introduction.
Yeah.
One thing back on the music topic real quick, Coachella's happening right now and they're streaming. They have 3 live channels right now on there, but don't go watch that right now. Watch this, right?
Yeah.
Is it free?
Yeah, it's live streaming, on YouTube.
Okay. Sweet.
Nice.
Yeah.
Joey, I didn't know we were competing against Coachella.
Oh,
Who's the headliner?
This is prime time.
Who's headlining this year?
Harry Styles is playing last on the first stage. I'm not cool enough to know the other people, but
I assume they stopped the Warped Tour. That was really the only one that I was kind of interested in.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's still going on.
Yeah, they stopped.
All right. Anyway, we have Maryland man with 124 snakes in his house. surprise, he died of a snake bite.
Oh, that coroner had a hard job there.
Yeah.
Alongside 100 cage snakes, accidental. Okay. Oh man.
Like, how do
What the
they
heck?
accidentally all get out at the same time? That seems suspicious.
Yeah.
Is the wife under consideration, or anyone that lived in that house?
What? Look at this. He his snakes included rattlesnakes, cobras, black mambas, and Burmese python. What the heck? Like that can't be legal, right?
No, I mean you can. You can get permits. I mean, hopefully for his sake, he got killed by the venom and not strangled to death by the python.
Yeah.
I think if I had to choose between the two, but how did all 124 get out? Like that seems weird.
Well, there's no way that like they all got out. I'm sure it was just like one, you know.
There was actually a real crime set up that dealt with snakes. This woman actually killed her husband. I think it was out in Arkansas. He owned a reptile. Like he did all these famous snakes. Again, YouTube, like a wife kills husband's snake. But yeah, she let a really like poisonous snake out. It essentially killed him. So yeah, I tried to cover it up. She was having an affair, of course. How those things start, but man, there's some crazy stuff. One day we need to go down like the YouTube rabbit hole to see what you can find.
Jason, have you been following the Elon Musk Twitter stuff?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So, how's the stock price been for it?
I don't know. I haven't really been watching that close, but it probably goes up and down with every time he says anything, just as you can imagine.
Yeah, he says Twitter and it goes up.
Did you happen to watch that the opening of the Texas facility that he did?
Mm-mm.
It was. I happened to be on YouTube while they were live streaming. I think it was last Wednesday. He had synchronized drones up above the facility prior to his keynote, and he was drawing pictures in the sky, and he drew like the Cybertruck and stuff like that, and then he put up I guess it's like the Doge dog or whatever. He drew it in the sky with the drones and stuff. It was pretty funny.
Did another scenario happen like with the cannonball thing that he threw at the Cybertruck?
No, they joked about it though. Yeah, it was. They didn't announce anything. They were just like opening the facility, and the little speech he did was kind of boring. But
has there been any Cybertrucks produced yet?
Just like prototypes and stuff. They've been delaying it for years. I think they're saying next year they're going to produce them. It just feels like it's kind of wearing off because it's like, I don't know. It was kind of shocking at first, but it's like, I don't know, 5 years later, you're going to make it? I don't know.
I mean, it just seems so impractical. Like, just the design of it, like, doesn't seem very... I mean, it won't do good in the South as a truck, that's for sure. I mean, in fact, it's electric will, like, be a knock against it, but, like, it kind of has that avalanche-y, like, Honda Ridgeline, like, the sidewalls. Like, how are you, like, going to get stuff into it? Like,
yeah,
just gonna, like, launch it over. So
I'm excited to see one in person because it's just so crazy. But then after that, it'll probably be annoying after the first one. It'll be like, I don't know.
Hey, Joey, we have someone wants to say hey.
Hey, Jacqueline. She's a fellow DSA member.
Yes.
Yep.
And for those that don't know, we are in the presence of a representative.
Oh, yeah. So I am technically an elected member of the Democratic Party. And by elected, yeah, you should read that as I showed up. Because the coordination out here is not that great. And unless you're in the city, you pretty much, you show up and you just fill in whatever the heck is needed. But interesting about that is you can tell things aren't run that great because I have a meeting coming up, and instead of doing something like sending an email or text, I got this.
Wait,
It
a
has
mailer?
Yeah, it's like a little postcard, and with the link to the meeting invite and stuff. Like, what the heck?
Yeah. We know you're gonna be governor one day, Joey.
No, not even close. No.
If the state turns Democratic, I know you would be thinking about it. We used to have the Republican representative, the head of the Republican Party in South Carolina. I think he still lives in this neighborhood. So that's always interesting. I should walk by and point him out to you, Joey, and you can go up and start talking to him.
Oh man, I actually would love to try to have a real conversation with some of those people, because like I have to know if like they actually really believe the stuff that they say. Like, I don't know. They might be like so indoctrinated or whatever that they do. I have no idea. I guess that'll I don't know. For the Elon Musk stuff, he talks about wanting to set Twitter straight and
Free
allow
speech.
free speech and stuff. Like, what exactly does he want? Does he want to be able to just literally say anything without any repercussion whatsoever? Like,
well, he does now, pretty much. Like,
right.
I mean, he's pretty much doing almost kind of like insider trading. When he can make the markets move on a tweet. So I mean, he's just as bad as some of the politicians, which they didn't. I don't think they passed that insider politician bill or whatever. But I mean, he's just he'll have a downfall eventually to his hubris, is what I predict will happen to him in the future.
Yeah. So what's interesting about that is that these, it's mainly these Republican politicians and these millionaire, billionaire types like Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, talk about how they're being censored and all that. But literally, they're like the most listened to people in the world almost. You have Trump, he did get banned on Twitter, but literally he can call up any news station whatsoever and just get right on immediately. He's not censored in any way. He can say whatever he wants and millions of people just tune in automatically.
Well, that's because the conservative or the Republican, and I'm mostly apolitical, but they do a better job of consolidating like the radio and who speaks. Like, there's too many voices on the left, and they all want like different stuff. It's weird seeing yourself in the camera, but they all want. Some are so extreme, and then some are not, and there's just too many fractured voices. Where on the right, they're all pretty much for the same goal mostly, so they just consolidate. So you're just gonna, I mean, it's tough. I don't know what to tell you.
What would you think that, like a typical Republican like that, what would you say that their goal actually is?
What? Typical Republican?
Yeah.
Conservative policies, although, I mean, George Bush, the second one, kind of messed that up. Like, I'm anti-war. I mean, I guess I'm closer to libertarianism, like anti-war. Don't get involved. Although I told Joey when the Russia special operations started, like, U.S. has a duty, I think, to get involved in that, because we, along with Russia, kind of denuclearized Ukraine. So that was their like safety net. So, we owe it to protect them, but then we can't protect them because then we leave ourselves open for a potential nuclear attack, which, I mean, now North Korea's leader doesn't look so crazy because, I mean, basically what he's always feared is playing out in Ukraine. So that's not good. I mean, hopes of denuclearization of that country is slowly diminishing. So, yeah, I feel like we should have gone in there. But, I mean, I don't know what the typical Republican wants. They want to be rich. They want capitalism, no regulations or less regulations, although I don't know. I mean, there's the robber barons of the late 1800s and early 1900s. I mean, there's always been corruption, and there always will be. Like, so it doesn't matter. And the Democratic Party was once corrupt, and I mean, it just flips. Like, that's why I'm kind of apolitical. Like, who cares? Like,
Yeah. Well, so I wouldn't necessarily say like, one's corrupt and one's not, because there's going to be corrupt actors in every political party. Like, there's corrupt people in the DSA. It just happens. But to me, the way I think
Jason.
about it.
Hey guys, I'm gonna drop. Y'all have a good night. All right.
All right. Take care. Thanks for
Later,
stopping in.
dudes. Oh yeah.
Thank you.
But the way I think about it is that the GOP, like you said, they're all just capitalists, and they don't actually want to, fight for something. They want to fight to take away stuff, take away regulations. They want to take away taxes, and implement the whole like free market ideology type stuff. And then, they don't they don't want woke issues. They don't want cultural stuff, even though like they're the ones that always make the big deal about everything. So I don't understand them on that point. Like I don't know how they've garnered so much support when they don't have like a real ideology to provide other than take stuff away.
I mean, once Reagan consolidated the religious right, I mean, that's a whole faction, and then Trump started taking away the blue collar Democratic voters, away the more nationalistic type, which you can hopefully, you can understand. Their jobs have been going to Mexico and now Taiwan, and now even, I mean, people that used to get our jobs are even going to even poorer countries. I mean, so it's like, the South Park, they took our job, like they keep getting the cheapest bidder, which is, so you understand where those people are coming from. Those were traditional Democratic voters, but, when you see your jobs lost and no one's really helping you, and you elected the Democratic like state and local people for so many years, and your union didn't help you, which probably it couldn't have. Let's be honest. I mean, once the U.S. got into the global economy, like you can't get out. Like, I mean, we'll see how, if Russia continue to get sanctioned, we'll see how they operate with outside of the global economy. It won't be too good, especially, Intel's not giving them chips. They can't produce a lot of technology. So, the longer they're isolated, the worse it gets. But then the worse it gets for the people, and probably ultimately everyone loses in the end. Because those people will leave, the Russians will have a brain drain like a lot of the Eastern European countries, and then the people that could prop it back up no longer live there. And then you're stuck starting over. So it's, I don't know. I got off on a tangent, but it's kind of, everything's related, like in one way or the other.
Yeah. So my view on it is like, yes, people see their communities like evaporating, their jobs going overseas and all that, but it's a direct result of, these libertarian ideologies of free market and allowing companies to have free reign over every aspect of operations. And a lot of their biggest expense is employment. And what do? They just look for cheaper labor, and that's sent overseas or whatever. So I think there's been an issue on opposing the GOP and not getting the messaging out right, that they're the ones implementing all this crazy stuff. Well, between that and then not actually providing a better way forward. But I think the messaging alone would help a lot in rectifying that. I don't know.
But
frustrating.
But some deregulation is good, though. Not all like certain things are regulated to death. Like when the FDA relaxed their regulations during COVID, that was a good thing. So they should keep those, but bureaucracy wins in the end, So, I mean, I'm not smart enough to know. I mean, in a perfect world, you have someone that is very wise and altruistic, running everything, each industry, but it's just not human nature. Human nature is to want more of whatever you have. So I mean, yeah,
I don't know, though. So let's say we live in a society where, like, everybody's like on an equal playing field, where everybody has their necessities.
So communist society.
No, not necessarily. Like, think about like Native American type stuff, where they have one collective where they all work for each other. They provide everything for themselves and for each other. And would you have nice public, okay, cool. But like, would you still have that need for like acquiring more if you see everybody around you has the exact same thing?
There's always going to be that one person, though. Like, there's always going to be someone. Like, I mean, that's like the basis of a lot of the fantasy films and stuff. There's always a bad guy. It's like superhero films. There's always a bad guy. Like, unfortunately, there's never. I mean, the majority of people in this world are good, and I think they mean good. But then through circumstances, then you go back to the whole nature versus nurture. That's a whole different can of worms. But I mean, I believe humanity is mostly good. But I believe even if it was a level playing field, there would be that one person that would be I'm reading Jackie's comment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think mostly to a degree, I agree with this comment. I think there's a few genetic conditions that people have that they're dealt a bad hand genetically speaking, and unfortunately, this society, I'm kind of an advocate for mental illness. I don't do anything, but I'm not afraid to talk about it. And I think Ronald Reagan, decommissioning and deregulating all the mental health facilities was a huge problem, because now there are people that need help and honestly need help earlier on. And then a lot of people don't know where to get it. And, a lot of people that facilitate people getting help are, the social workers, and they're so underpaid, underappreciated. No one wants to go in that field. They're like, oh man, why would I want to be a social worker? I can go to instead of social worker, I can, get an MBA, go run a business, or hell, I could be an influencer on Instagram and make, money. So, yeah, I 100% agree. I think we're working on it, and I think it's good. And that's why I'm never ashamed to talk about it. You know, Joey and I, we do a lot of football stuff, and they have a big problem in the United Kingdom right now with men our age committing suicide at a very high rate, higher than over here. And they're actually trying to push out programs to advocate for men's mental health because I guess in that country it's seen as a weakness, or it's just not talked about. It's kind of like maybe the 1940s and 50s, or even to a degree today. I mean, in still some cultures, like men can't be weak, men can't have any issues, which is not true at all. So, yeah, I mean, I would love for people to start focusing on mental health issues. I think, a lot of my taxpayer dollars, I mean, frankly, Joey, I think we talk about this. My taxpayer dollars, where I live, they go to fund a school that is basically a college campus. And I went to high school, and it was not lavish, but it wasn't horrible. And it's great the young kids get, all these cool, they have a DJ mixing room and all this cool stuff. I mean, awesome. I think it's great. Although now I think with remote learning and remote things, I think office and, hard infrastructure is going to be maybe a thing of the past. But I would like to see more of my money, instead of building $15-20 million stadiums, $40 million schools, at least in South Carolina, I would prefer, the Bull Street, now that's just like a shopping center now in Columbia. I would prefer mental health to, there needs to be a new place for that. There needs to be more of it. They're always willing to build prisons and put more people in prisons, but some of the people need, mental health care. And, then you have to find people that want to do that.
Yeah. So just to add in real quick, I, was a guard at, a few of the prisons, and it was not nice. First of all, the type of people that are hired for those jobs they're there because they need a job. Most of them, they don't actually, nice. Talking to two huge sports fans, but it's okay.
I think there's too much money in sports. I'm not gonna lie.
For sure, definitely, yeah. But also the whole institution of policing and prison, it's just awful. The inmates get treated like garbage. The employees there, honestly, not much better. I could have better conversations with a lot of the inmates than I could my coworkers. It was just bad all the way around. And then one of the last place I worked at was a pre-release center. It's where either people who have done very minor crimes or people who are about to be released go. And a lot of those people have jobs out in the public, even while they're still technically in prison. But they are, first of all, once they go to those jobs, they are worked to the bone. I'm not saying it's like the labor camp, but man, those guys, they're actually working really hard when they go out and do that stuff. And it's for legit pennies on the dollar, because a lot of their income goes back into paying restitution and stuff like that. And then they are forced to save a little bit of it, but generally they're not going to be at these places long enough to, save what the Department of Corrections allows them to. It's not meaningful at all. And then they're given almost no guidance whatsoever. after dealing with all the stuff being institutionalized and all that stuff. And I just feel bad for everybody, the whole system, the employees, the inmates, the staff, everybody.
It's not set up for success.
No.
Like it's set up in a business to keep people there. Like, I mean, I'm not a fan of hard drugs, but like, come on, some small drug crimes, people get 20 years. Like, what the hell? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, you were caught with you were 50 feet within a school. Well, I mean, you're walking by and you just happen to get picked up. It's not like you were actually dealing to kids. I mean, now if you were, like, if they caught you in the act, that's like something different. But I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of in favor of decriminalizing tons of things, or at least changing the sentencing. Again, this all stems from the Ronald Reagan era, which has been almost 40 some years ago. And we're still like trapped in which is weird. Like, why people are trapped in time to the early 1980s. I mean, that's when I was born, so I don't know too much about that time period. But like, if I had to think of a great time in my lifetime, it probably would be the early 2000s or late 90s. I mean, the 80s, I think everyone finally remembers, and people older than me probably can definitely have more insight to this. The 70s were rough. So just getting out of the 70s, the inflation, all the Cold War, was heating up, all that stuff. So just getting into the 80s and having a new vision, the Iran issue, I think people just started celebrating, and then things got better just naturally over time. Not all of Reagan's policies were bad, obviously, but things got better over time, and kind of fixed that era. But then eras end, and that's like the bad thing. It's a whole nother topic too, Joey, but like, nostalgia is good and bad. Like, I love nostalgia, but it's not healthy, I don't think, because you could be nostalgic for something, but it's never going to be that way again. And then if you always try to make it that way again, you're never going to move forward. So
I mean, that's the whole thing with like the Trump slogan, like,
well,
make
yeah.
America great
No, that's
again.
where I was. That's you led into back to what I was saying. I was about to say. I think Richard Moore case.
Was that the one that is that the I-95?
Is that the corruption on the I-95 with that kid that that's something Joey and I
I need
discussed.
to read into that. Yeah.
If it's down in the Bamberg area near the Murdaugh stuff, the guy being executed.
Oh yeah. So
by firing squad.
Yeah,
I know.
I have to say is I am fully against capital punishment. So.
I'm not gonna say one way or the other because I don't know. I don't have enough. Yeah, I don't know. There's some things like you want to hope people can be rehabilitated, but through research, genetic research, and research on brain, again, sometimes these things aren't their fault. A lot of the people that do become these serial killers, it's usually like within the first 3 years of their life. They have, they malnourished. They, they're not taken well care of. A lot of times they get brain damage. I mean, and unfortunately, sometimes when you get brain damage, you that's just not irreparable. Yes. So the state, I mean, like the famous one is the what's the guy Steny, that one from the 1940s, 50s, the black kid. I think he was 12. They got that one completely wrong. again, you hope people act within good faith, but there's just parts of society that doesn't act within good faith. And as you know, the case we thought you were talking about is down in the Low Country part of I-95, where there's tons of corruption right now with the solicitors and judges. There was a kid, he was 16 at the time, he's now 18, but he was you have the website. He was convicted of sexual assault, and then essentially let out and then did it again. But his dad turned out to be the DA or a lawyer, something like that. Oh, thank you, Jackie. No problem. We hope to get more people, on here as well. That's Joey's whole idea. So don't feel like you're spamming. But yeah, there's a lot of corruption down in that part of the state, I-95, which, I'm not going to say the R word, but it does stem from a lot of that. There's, a lot of old money down in that part. So there's the haves and haves not. The whole Murdoch case will probably shed a lot of light on it for a lot of people in South Carolina about what happens between the privileged and the non-privileged, in the community. So there's a very good podcast out right now that's done by a woman. I think she's dedicating her whole basically career now to following that case and the corruption down there. I sent you the link, Joey. I can't remember.
Yeah, I was trying to look for it.
She'd be interesting to talk to just because she knows a lot about that. Oops. Sorry, I have someone at the door.
Yep. So let me let's see. I'm gonna have this ready when he gets up here. All right, Jacqueline, have you seen this? It's I can't even comprehend it. The Tennessee state senator talking about Hitler. All right. I don't even know how to comprehend. So basically, he compares homeless people having a chance to better themselves because, hey, Hitler did it once, and it is bad. I want Andrew to see this, so I'm gonna wait to play it, but it is awful.
Sorry about that, Joey. I got about five more minutes.
That's cool. I want you to see this real quick. So, have you seen this yet? Where the dude talks about homeless people and also brings in Hitler.
You know I don't watch too many political stuff.
All right, check this out.
2 years, Hitler lived on the streets and practiced his oratory and his body language and how to connect with the masses, and then went on to lead a life that got him in the history books. So a lot of these people, it's not a dead end. They can come out of these homeless camps and have a productive life, or in Hitler's case, a very unproductive life. I support this bill. Thank you. For 2 years, Hitler lived on the streets and practiced his oratory and his body language.
I heard it.
How to connect with the masses.
I'm going to show that comment. This guy has staff members and stuff and couldn't find any better example of a homeless person that has pulled themselves up to become someone. Did he just Google homeless and Hitler came up first and he's like, I'm going to go with that.
Someone's like, I found a fine upstanding gentleman. It's this Hitler guy.
Come on. Well, he's like, or not so good. Like, just find someone better if you're going to try to make that comparison. There's plenty of people that were homeless that have gone on to do way better things than he did. Like, it's funny that Jacqueline has this comment because the minute he started speaking, like, you hate to stereotype people. I mean, I'm not going to lie. We probably all do it. But the minute like he started speaking, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to say something very like uneducated or something very, not researched very well. Because when I was in school, and Joey, I don't know if this is the case when you're in school. It's actually kind of sad because the Southern dialect is dying out, which is a shame because regional dialects, make United States somewhat different. But when I was in school, they actually sent those kids to speech pathologists to, get them. That's why you're seeing less and less people with a Southern accent. Is at least
Interesting.
In my elementary school, they sent them to the speech pathologist to get them to speak correctly. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I had the same Jackie. The same thing went through my brain the minute he pressed play. It shouldn't be like that, but unfortunately, too many times it is. It's just, I swear, just Google some. I could probably Google a homeless person right now that's done way more than good in the world. A better example. Yeah, I don't know what the bill was about. Joey, what was the bill about? Like,
it was basically like
what was his point other than basically homeless people can rise up from being homeless?
Well, I mean that pretty much was his point, but he was saying like, homeless people should strive to do better rather than like staying on the streets or
a
staying
lot of them
homeless
do
or
strive to
something.
do better. Like,
Right.
there's a separate subsection. You got your mentally ill, which we've already they need, and then you have your drug addicts, which is a completely different problem created by the pharmaceutical industry, which they'll never get their comeuppance. And then you have another population. I mean, there's some people that just want to live their lifestyle and whatever, not for me, but work program. Was this something related to what I think they've talked about before in South Carolina? Like, if you have to work to get your your aid, like you can't just get a check. You have to works.
No, I don't believe it's that. I think it's something
Okay.
like they would fine people for being in where'd it go?
And I will say one thing that North Carolina does that I'm not a big fan of is they legalize panhandling. So you can actually get a panhandler's license. So at every freaking interstate off ramp, there is supposedly a homeless person, but they've done undercovers and they're not all homeless. And some of them are like, yeah, I make more money doing this than I would a real job. They put 60, 70,000 a year, which is completely, I don't know. You got to have some cojones. Again, we talked about there's good people in this world, but you got to have some cojones to do that. And, as your job when you actually aren't disabled and you have, like you could do something more.
Yeah. So what the bill actually does is it expands punishment for what's called unauthorized camping on all state-owned property, and it extends it to all public property as well, which then is a Class E felony. So it's like basically incarcerating or just getting rid of homeless people in that sense. Which it's unfortunate because I never really discuss politics or anything with my friends, and I found out one day that this one guy, it was like pretty much my best friend, and he's like, these homeless people in Colombia, they need to do something about them. They need to get them out of here. And I was like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, I don't want to see them. And I'm like, what the heck, dude? Like,
But so I left Jackie's comment up here real quick, just because you don't want to. It's a hard problem. Like there needs to be places to go, and there is a place in Columbia to go, but a lot of them don't, I guess, want to go there or like to stay there. Which I don't know the quality of the place is, but you also don't, if you want to become like a tourist area, like some of the tourist places I go, I don't want to be asked every 5 steps for money, and be harassed, and some of them borderline harassment, and I'm just I just don't carry money with me anymore. That's how I get through the problem, because when I would carry money, I'd end up giving it all away, because and who knows what they were, some people will be like, go buy them a sandwich, and I give them the sandwich, but like I just gave them the money. Like, it probably wasn't. I don't know what the right thing to do is. I know Portland has a big problem. San Francisco has a big problem. They're talking about these communities of, I think actually San Francisco maybe, or somewhere in California, they made this community out of, is it small shipping containers or something? They're trying to relocate them to like a single person like living facility, so they don't have to like live in a community like group home, but give them their own like little, almost like tiny house kind of situation. So that sounded interesting. I think that's out in either California or Oregon. I'm gonna guess it's San Francisco. I actually did see that. I don't watch the news, but for some reason that came up for me.
yeah, I think it was Austin that they actually followed through with the whole like defund.
Well, Austin's tried.
So they didn't necessarily. Basically, what they did was they diverted funds from straight policing into I think they purchased. I know at least one. Maybe it was like up to 3 old hotels, and they were setting up like living facilities for homeless people there. If that works out, I think it could be something to maybe replicate moving forward. But
there's a good documentary on Netflix about the California. There's a hotel that is notorious. I think it's near Skid Row, from which people living on it. I think that's why they're doing this single dwelling thing. Again, I don't know. Yeah, if it works out, good. For Austin. I mean, unfortunately, Austin, they're going to be inundated, with the cost of living significantly skyrocketing in Austin. They're going to
nice.
They're going to be inundated with homeless people here in the future, because they're just going to move to where where they can get money. I mean, they're just going to just move. I mean, there's a ton in San Francisco. It's really wealthy. Austin is basically the new San Francisco. All the people in San Francisco in COVID kind of got out, moved to Austin. As we talked earlier with your friend, Elon Musk got out of, he moved to Texas. So, I mean, Austin's just, unfortunately, probably bringing a problem onto itself. Well, it's not their fault, but, well, who knows? I don't know if they've given tax breaks. I know they don't have income tax in the state, so, maybe this is the result. I don't know. I don't know enough about the state to know, but I expect their problem to get pretty bad. I know personally from being in Portland, it is not fun to go through downtown Portland, by yourself, or really, yeah, they have a big problem out there. But I'm not smart enough to know the solution, but the solution isn't for them necessarily to live on the streets, but I don't know. The problem is some people like the lifestyle. Like there's documentaries about that where people like call it like urban camping or something. You know, like, what are you gonna do with those people? Like, they're not gonna stop, you know, and it's free, you know.
I mean,
So-
that's different though. Like, I'm sure the prevalence of that is way less than, you know, people that are not out there on their own.
There's like a 10-to-1 empty homes to unhoused, 10-to-1 empty homes to unhoused. We have that many empty. I thought we have a housing shortage, not a housing excess at the moment.
I mean, it's one of those things like, you know, it wouldn't be a place that you and I would want to go, you know, live in. It's kind of like that. Like, we're privileged enough to not have to, like, even, you know, really consider places like that, which is unfortunate to say, but, you know, it's how it is. So yeah, and then a lot of it has to do with also investments, like people just holding on to property.
Oh yeah, gentrification and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, this is a topic I don't know enough about to have. I mean, I always have an opinion on something, but I can't speak with intelligence on it. Yeah, I do agree. There's tons of luxury apartments, and right now there's tons of empty office space due to COVID and people working from home. What do you do with it? Because those offices are expensive. Like, I mean, they're in prime locations. I think they're like called like Millionaires Row or something, or Billionaires Row in New York City, and they can't rent them out. Like, you know, what are they going to do when they can't pay? Like, is the building going to default? Like, so that'll be interesting. So there's a real reason to push to get people back to the offices, even though, honestly, I think that ship's kind of sailed. I'm an office person myself, even though I work from home, but it's just not an option for me. But I think long term there'll be some issues because I think now there's going to be too many office buildings. Foreign landlords. Interesting.
Yeah. Is it like I can't remember. I think I read that that was more of at a local level than national, though. Is that right, Jackie? Or Jacqueline?
So when you say foreign, it means the people that are like Chinese or Russian, like citizens, not German citizens that like immigrated in. I'm assuming that's what you mean. I haven't heard of this.
I mean, I don't even think it's that, like, you know, they're not native to Germany. I think it's that they literally do not live there, do not reside there whatsoever, but they still bought them as investment properties.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what the Chinese does in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they buy up all that stuff. I mean, Russia, yeah, I mean, oligarchs. I mean, you know, Joe, you're a Chelsea fan. You know where all that money went to.
That's interesting because a lot of people like really deny that Abramovich was doing like basically just washing his money, but like everybody knows that's like really what it is.
Well, that's why he didn't care how much he lost.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're washing your money, you have to wash it somehow. Those people need to watch that show. What is it called with them three women that it's hilarious. I can't remember, but there's three women that get into the business basically where they wash money. It's a comedy. It's on, I think, CBS or ABC or NBC, one of the shows. But yeah, I mean, that's what he was doing, and it's so funny that people can't see it, or they just don't want to acknowledge it, but that's what they all do. Like, if you have dirty money, you got to get it clean somehow. What better way to get it clean than to buy human capital like you guys do and sell the capital on? I mean,
Yep.
so
that was interesting when I first started like really paying attention to football. And
I'm surprised you chose that team, actually, but
well, I mean, you know why? It was because of Pulisic. So yeah, but anyway, like the whole notion of buying and selling players, it I don't know, it hit home like oh, that sounds awful, but it's legit what it is. And I don't know.
I mean, now they do. Now, I mean, Manchester City. Not to get into too much football, but they're being charged by the Council of Sport or whatever it's called of buying underage players. Essentially, yes, soccer.
Yeah.
So Manchester City, they're being accused of buying underage players. Basically impoverished. Getting their parents, jobs and stuff, but, buying them when they're like 12, 11, like when they're too young to legally be bought. I don't want to use the word bought, but paid or recruited into the academy. So, but, unfortunately, it's the African countries that get taken advantage of a lot. Because it's cheaper to, go recruit those players and give those parents, they don't have anything. So something's better than nothing, giving them an apartment in the city to live in. If your kid plays football. So, yeah, that's something else we'll have to go into more, Joey, is the charges against them. Because it is kind of interesting and it kind of goes into the political things.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta leave, but I saw Jackie's comment real quick. Yes, that is college football is, and it's only going to be getting worse with. I do believe they should get paid. However, now with the payment structure in place of college football, I believe it's going to be getting worse and worse and worse. Kids younger and younger are going to be signing. I forget what they're called, Joey. You probably know the name, or whatever these deals are where they can basically endorsement type deals. A school can be like, hey, we're partnered with Bojangles. We'll give you $1 million to play here.
Yeah, I forget the term for it, but it's ridiculous.
So I think it's good for the players. Don't get me wrong; they should get paid. I don't believe the bull crap that it's just an education, because let's face it, half of them aren't going to make it to the NFL. A lot of them don't graduate. But I think the recruitment's going to get uglier and uglier as people get sponsors, and now boosters can have their own. Let's just example, and I'm not picking any business out because I have no idea who owns what business in Columbia, but just for example, say some guy that owns a Columbia car wash is a huge USC booster and he has the extra $2 million laying around. He'd be like, I'll tell you what, man, I was going to donate this, to the club, but, we can use this as, to recruit a player for an endorsement deal or whatever they're called. Because I don't think they're very regulated, Joey. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it really, I don't think there's like fair market value on what, I think it could be literally anything. It could be like Joe Schmo's Chicken Shack gives you $3 million, even though their revenue is like $100 a year or something.
Yeah, and that's one of the big controversies of like they're speculating that it's just going to completely explode, and I'm sure it will unless something's done. Where these millionaires just buy all these players with endorsements.
Well, Joey, I got to leave for you tonight. It was a pleasure.
Back it up, yeah.
And I hope to do this. I mean, we could do this, again next week or whenever you you want to, Jacqueline, and I think Lee. Oh, thank you. There's a story behind why I dye my hair now, but I can tell that next week. And wait to see my cats. They're like even more fantastic. Yeah, we hope to do this more often. You know, it started off lighthearted. I know Joey has a lot of things that he likes to discuss. And, you know, so hopefully this could be a platform for him. And, you know, I'm kind of here just to provide the lay persons without any knowledge, really. I mean, I guess I'm smart. Well, I don't want to say I'm smarter than the layperson. That sounds a little bit narcissistic. But I have a little bit of knowledge. But again, I'm more apolitical, so I don't research all these things. I just come up with whatever is my like natural instinct. Is usually my response on some of these things. So, but yeah. So hopefully you can build an audience, and Joey can get his voice out, and I could show funny stories from time to time.
Yep. All right, Jacqueline. Take care. See you around. Andrew, this was fun. Yep.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it.
All right. Later.
Mm-hmm. Bye.